welcome back to the show.
Here we are.
Yeah, we have another guest this week.
Special guest, I'd say.
Yeah, I think our only guest to appear 3 times.
Maybe, yeah.
Actually, probably the only guest to appear 2 times, right? No. Keith from 2-Bit was on twice.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
No, wait a second. He was he on twice?
He
No.
was on twice. This is my 3rd time.
Yeah. Yeah, Keith was on twice. He was on once with the 3 of us when Deadwood was still around. And then once after. He was there on a green screen episode.
Oh.
Which this is the green screen.
Oh, God.
So I don't even know if we said who's here. It's Jon Peters.
Yeah, welcome, Jon Peters.
Yeah, we just shot an addendum. Well, not even an addendum. I guess the final part of a video that we started, 2-3 months ago?
Yeah, it was, I think it was like maybe the final week that you were in the old shop.
Yeah. Yeah, so that was, mid-December. But before we get into anything, let's thank our sponsor, Hafla. Hafla offers a wide range of products and solutions for the woodworking and furniture-making industries, from hinges and drawer slides to connectors and dowels, sandpaper, wood glue, shop carts, and everything in between. Exclusive product lines such as Lux LED lighting and Slido door hardware ensure that every project you create is built to last. Learn more at hafla.com, which is back up in front.
I was going to ask you, can we go to hafla.com?
Yes. I don't think you can order yet, but you can look at the catalog for sure. And, hopefully it's back up and running soon. So Hafla had a big data breach. Not a data breach. They had like a ransomware attack in Germany in their headquarters. Yeah. So they shut everything down for a couple weeks.
Well, Hafla, is that how you say it?
Yeah.
Now, are you only using their hardware now? You're not using Bloom any longer?
Actually, we were talking today with the hinges. We might switch back to Bloom for the hinges.
All right.
We just... I don't know. We're having some weird issues with the hardware. I think it's just a lack of experience, probably. But we know how to use the Bloom hinges, so I got no problem just going back.
Sure.
To using them.
Now, can a homeowner or some of the hobbyists go to Hafla as well? Or is that mainly for big commercial operations like yourself?
You may need like an EIN.
Okay.
But I'm not positive. I don't remember, you have to fill out an application to get an account, but I don't remember if they ask you for an EIN. There's a lot of Hafla resellers online that you can access, where they sell Hafla products, but it's I think like build.com, you can find some stuff on there. So
cool.
Yeah.
I don't use that much hardware. It's funny. Sometimes I do, and then a lot of times I don't.
Yeah.
But again, I'm usually making just a few pieces a year, and they're one-offs.
Yeah.
It's like this thing that I'm building now is taking me
table.
Yeah, it's taking me probably 4 to 6 weeks. It's just because I'm working on other things, and
you got to film and document it all.
Well, and that's the thing. I've got so much editing to do, and I started to look at the footage yesterday. I'm like, okay, I can do this. And Brian Benham, he does the designs for me, he makes the plans. So what I do is I do very rudimentary drawings, and then I make videos for him with holding my tape measure, and he's really talented. So that's a nice way to communicate with somebody. And the thing too is Brian is such a good woodworker and seasoned woodworker that we have the same vocabulary.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like I'm trying to explain something to him. He gets it, probably before I even say it.
Yeah, and he could probably fill in any little blank, anywhere where there's a blank of information, he could fill it in.
Yeah, he does a great job. He's awesome. So
that's like I do some drawings for Wild Willie.
Yeah,
and he'll send me like a napkin sketch, and I'm like, I have to make a lot of assumptions a lot of times, but luckily, same thing. It's like we're both woodworkers, so I understand what information he doesn't put in there.
If you need him to, it probably would be pretty easy for him to just send like a very condensed video message. So what I do is I shoot everything with my phone and then just edit it on my iPhone and put it on an unlisted link and send Brian the link. So the last project, I think it was like a 4.5 minute video. And then today I had to make a change because I decided to cut the braces. I feel like with this piece, I'm pushing pushing what the table can do a little bit because it's a trestle table.
Mm-hmm.
And so the main trestles, or the main legs, let's call them, are 7.5 at their widest and 6.5 at when they taper down. They've got a 2.5-inch deep lap joint into 8/4.
I've been watching.
Okay, so then I've got that 1.25-inch dowel,
Mm-hmm.
and then there's like a 7.5-inch trestle that goes over it.
Yeah.
And the table is 36 inches. It was 40. I decided 36 would be better, so I cut the braces down from 35 to 32. That was like a change I just made this morning. I kind of woke up, I'm like, I don't know if that's good. So like 7 o'clock this morning, I'm out there cross-cutting the braces a little bit. But I don't know. And then I am going to use the lag.
Yeah.
So I'll go through the trestle and into the leg, probably 6 or 8 inches. But that's still a lot of force, don't you think? Like a cantilever kind of force?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it all, will transfer back down to the to the bottom trestle. You have like a mirrored kind of thing.
No, there's no trestle in the bottom, so I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about just if you take any like a crowbar and you're way out here and you put a lot of weight on it, won't it eventually?
So you think if somebody leans on the edge of the table?
I don't think so, but that's just me.
Yeah.
Being paranoid about like last minute things.
So you have a dowel connecting the vertical to the trestle part? Is that what you said?
No, so the trestle will fit into the legs with a 2.5-inch deep lap joint on the leg, on the top of the leg, and a 4-inch lap joint on the trestle. And then there's an 1.25-inch dowel that goes through the leg just under the lap joint, so I'm not lagging into end grain. I'll hit that cross grain and get some more pulling power. So there's a question I was going to ask you guys about glue. So gluing the tabletop up, sometimes I really like to use Thixo because it gives me so much working time. I mean, have you ever used it?
I never did.
No, you gave us some, and then we had never found a use for it.
So I've had no problem with it, with anything coming apart, and I've built outdoor tables. The working time, you have hours of working time, probably easily 2 hours. But then the following day it is cured because it's total book commercial here. Because it's thickened, it doesn't spill all over the place.
Yeah.
So underneath it, you'll just see like little waves, and you can cut them off. I like to cut them off with a flush cut bit in the router and kind of cut them off that way.
What about like where, like when you get some on the surface of the table, does it, you have to like really sand it down so that the finish doesn't look different?
So I don't like with wood glue, I'll wipe it off with a wet rag generally. Yeah. And this is quarter sawn white oak, so it does have a deep grain in areas. I'm not going to, if I use the Thixo, I'm not going to wipe it off. I'll let it dry, and then I'll use a flush cut bit in the router and just kind of plane it off with that. Now, you can get a little bit of tear out, right? Because it's going to tear out that epoxy, and it might tear out some of the wood grain. I did have that with the Sapele tabletop I built this summer, but I was able to get rid of it with the sanding. So I'm just thinking, okay, so that's the one question. What about what type bond would you use, 2 or 3 for a tabletop glue up?
I like 3 for everything.
You do?
Yeah. Okay. I'll put a caveat on that. I like using 1, like when we're building banquettes and stuff like that, stuff that's going to be upholstered. That's just like, where you're moving fast, just like nailing crap together kind of thing. It makes it sound. I hope Jim's not listening. He's like, man, these guys getting paid
patiently fastening the banquette carcasses together.
Because there's a lot of vertical gluing on that, where you're putting glue on ribs and then stapling plywood to it. So with the 3, if you put glue up here, you turn around, it's all the way down at the bottom.
Yeah,
it's dripping off of everything.
Okay,
so the 1 is nice because it's thick.
Okay,
and it kind of has more of like a gap filling property. So you're building a lot of things out of plywood. These ribbed backs with and like sheeting it basically. If one of those ribs is a little bit off or something, it'll fill that gap a little better.
So then, So then for 2, you just don't use it?
Yeah, I mean, 2, 1, they're kind of a similar viscosity.
But the 1 is white, right?
No, it's yellow.
Yeah.
Oh, it is yellow?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's actually, I feel like it's a little more yellow than 2, right?
Yeah. Yeah. 2 seems almost beige. 3 seems almost beige to me.
3 is, like a light brown almost.
Yeah. I find 3 harder to clean up with water than 2.
Yeah, well, it's waterproof, they call it, I think.
There's a little controversy on that where some people will say they don't use water because it's just going to smear it into the grain.
Yeah. I tend to scrape it off.
You do?
Yeah.
I tend to use water a lot, actually. And in the tight spots, I'll use like a little artist brush and get into the, especially with a lap joint.
Mm-hmm.
But I do like the idea of clamping it up, let it skim over for about an hour, and then it's still kind of skinned over.
Yeah.
And then you can get with a sharp chisel, you can usually get that off. So I'll do both. But some people will say never use, and I just think that's kind of.
Yeah. We do. I mean, I do it, and I haven't had any.
I've never had a problem.
We like to use like a, I don't know what kind of scraper. It's like a paint scraper. It has like a little handle.
Yep.
The thing is, like you were saying with white oak, I don't like to let it. You can let it skin over, but if you wait too long, you end up tearing out a lot of grain.
Yeah.
And then it's like you defeated the whole purpose.
You can't let it sit overnight.
Yeah,
or even like sometimes you go like 2 hours. It's too long.
So then you're using the wet rag deal.
And you want to just try and not get as much squeeze out.
Yeah.
I used to only use 1 until I met Jeff.
Really?
Yeah.
I feel like 1 has a working time of like 2 minutes.
It took me not a long time, but it took me a while to get acclimated to 3 because it's so much thinner.
When you did the boxes, the 1,000 boxes, was that 3?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I feel like with 1, it'd be real hard to get those joints together because it's so viscous.
Oh, that brings me to another question then. See, it's all about me and my project here.
You're the guest.
They've heard enough from us.
So I put something on Instagram where I showed the leg is a 2.5-inch tenon. So the tenon measures 1.5 inches by 5.5 inches. It's a 8-quarter leg. And so then it's going into a matching mortise. And Rob Bliss said, he goes, I hope you're going to pin that. Or maybe he didn't say it like that. Maybe he said, are you going to pin that like the shakers? But I don't know if I want to do that. Do you think I need to do that on a tenon that big? It's like one more thing.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, well, think about it. Strength-wise, the leg is 29 inches by 3.5 inches wide by 3 inches. And then the mortise is 2.5 inches. Do you think that the pins are actually going to add that much more strength?
The Shakers knew what they were doing.
At least they say they did.
When they were inventing the circular saw.
I don't know. I mean, no. I was just wondering because I'm thinking like I'll probably have to turn those pins. I don't know where I'm going to get white oak pins.
You have one of those, what do you call the thing? Metal where you drive it through.
Yeah. I could turn a pin pretty easly, though, on the I got that little lathe, the same thing you guys have.
It is one of those things, I guess, like repeated, like racking of the table or something. Yeah. The pin will help. Probably.
Well, if I'm going to use a pin, I'm going to do 2, I would think.
Yeah, it'll keep it'll keep it from pulling out if the glue ever fails.
Okay.
But, you got to think, you can't build everything to last 250 years, you know what I mean? Like 100 years, it has to be good enough sometimes.
Yeah. No, I was just thinking that just because I really respect Rob as a furniture builder. And a lot of times I just need like the extra kick in the ass to do the extra step. Like it's funny.
Oh yeah.
I put a slight curve at the bottom of the trestle.
Yeah.
And I was like, I just didn't feel like doing it because I knew that it meant that I had to make a pattern and then use and then cut it with the bandsaw and then the flush cut bit. But once I did it, and then sand it and all that stuff. But it's one of those things that makes all the difference. It's those little things. And even, now especially after talking to you guys, I'm going to do the pins, and I know that in the end I'll be happy to see those pins there.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if I'm going to go all the way through though. Maybe I'll only go.
I was going to say, yeah, if you don't want to see them, just do them from the inside and don't just go,
like a half inch shy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then just type on 3.
Mm-hmm.
Don't put too much glue in there, so I have a big gap.
Yep.
All right, so that's my next thing.
You get the best of both worlds.
Put a couple drywall screws and just put a plug over it.
6-inch drywall screw, good enough.
Shout out to Ed Johns, the king of the drywall screw.
Oh man.
Yeah, that was like the shop table that I made today. I had all these thoughts of shaping those trestles with, longer tapers, and it's like, I just got to get this done. I don't need to impress anybody with this shop table.
It looks nice though. Just those little 45s you put on the end make a difference.
Yeah, I had to do something.
Yeah.
But yeah, it came together pretty quick.
That could have been a big YouTube project.
Yeah. Shoulda, coulda, woulda.
Yeah. It's a lot. It's a lot.
Then it would have taken 3 days.
That's right.
Yeah. Now my angle now is just do a couple reels at the beginning of the month, cash in my reels bonus, and then I'm out.
How did you do in reels this month?
Not bad. I mean, the bonus is like you get up to $100 and it just stops. Like, you have to get a lot of views, like in the millions to get anything more than that,
So here's my real story. Last month, I did something like cutting a window out with a router.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes.
And I probably would always use a Sawzall from now on, but I just wanted to do that. Anyway, it blew up. It's like 27 million views. And that combined with some other things turned out to be like $2,700 on Instagram Reels. I thought, oh, that's cool. And that's a motivator to like, hey, let's make some reels. You know?
Yeah.
To do something controversial.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. So I
Get
didn't really,
that hate rolling.
That's right. When you got the hate rolling, it's good. So then I did a video of this bike rack I made, and it got 40 million views.
Wow.
And I actually deleted it because I just deleted it today because I put up something similar. But I deleted it because this month, that video, 40 million views and a couple others, only equaled $170.
Huh.
So I'm like, there's no rhyme or reason to this. And so the time that router video was blowing up, I would check my bonuses like twice a day, and it would just go up in increments. And I was like, wow, this is great. And then the same thing here. The video is just blowing up, and tons of comments, nasty comments, and all kinds of stuff. So I'm like, oh, this is going to be great. And
Gotta have that thick skin.
didn't move. It didn't move at all. So
jeez,
I put up something similar today because I've got a YouTube Shorts video that's blowing up. Right now, it's at like 19 million or something.
Oh, is that with the bike rack?
Yeah.
What was the thing about the
tire
letting the
pressure?
air out?
Yeah. So the funny thing is, like, so this is an e-mountain bike. For anybody who doesn't know, Jeff and Rob know. I bought an e-mountain bike. Now it's pedal assist, meaning it doesn't have a throttle, and it's only going to assist you to 19 miles an hour. It's a Class A or Class 1 bike. But they're heavy because it's got a Bosch motor in it and it's got a big battery in it, and it's 56 pounds. And so the idea of lifting it onto any kind of rack is like not great. Even lifting it into the back of the truck is like, wow, this is awkward and heavy. So I'd been thinking about a rack for a while, and it just hit me like if I could make like a friction fit on the front tire, then that would be a great way to hold it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I thought, okay, well, what happens if the tire goes flat? So then I drilled a hole in it and put a little pin in there. And then I thought, okay, this is definitely going to work. So when I put the original video up on YouTube, up on Instagram with just like a 1/4-inch dowel just to test it, that's the video that blew up that didn't pay out for whatever reason. And a few comments or a lot of comments were like, what do you need that stick for? And all this sort of stuff. Or what happens if the tire goes flat? So then I made a little bit nicer of a rack with a 1/2-inch dowel, and I made a video and put it on YouTube that didn't really do anything until just a couple of days ago. And you see the bike get put into the rack, and it's a friction fit, and then I put in the dowel, and then I let the air out. And it's just, there's hundreds and hundreds of comments. And a lot of them are really like, WTF, why are you letting the air out of the tire? Great idea. Now you got to inflate the tire every time you go for a ride. Just all these sort of things.
You were doing it to demonstrate that it would hold it if the tire went flat.
Yeah, and so that, the demonstration and that combined with the title of Bike Rack, What Happens If the Tire Goes Flat, would lead me to believe that somebody might read that before they wrote. Some of these people will write a paragraph. And I'm like, holy cow, like, imagine having the time to write.
I'm out of touch.
Oh, yeah.
Like, because, everything you're talking about, I've seen. And I know you, and we're friends, and I'm still not motivated to, like, write something like, what the hell is that?
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's just, I just watch it and enjoy it. And I don't get the whole...
It's great getting comments, though, because that way and you just have to be like, you just have to laugh at it.
Yeah.
So most of my responses on the nice comments are a heart.
Yeah.
And then usually I try not to respond to the nasty comments. But if I do, it's just sort of that emoji with the guy with his hand over his face, because that's usually my go-to emoji when something's just stupid.
Well, yeah, because you know me, you get my comments. They're one word max. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sweet,
Exactly.
awesome,
Yeah,
nice job. Yeah,
Our buddy Chris from Full Steam Design. I don't know if you met him at Maker Camp, but he posts a lot of these purposely controversial kind of things, and a lot on Facebook too. Where he puts like a lawnmower blade on a grinder, like stuff like that. But then he posts a lot of just regular stuff, and he gets all these people that like these, I've been a contractor for 40 years, and if you showed up to my job site like that, I'd kick you off, or
Yeah.
Like, dude, what is wrong with these people?
Yeah, you're just touching a nerve, and I guess some of these people, maybe they're sitting in a waiting room or they're in a cubicle, and that'll, I don't know. I don't have the time. I try to leave, like, if I see something I like, I try to leave a nice comment, just because that's a nice thing to get. Like, especially if you put something up there that you're really kind of happy with or whatever, and somebody, especially somebody you respect, is like, hey, that looks great.
Yeah.
So I try to do that as much as I can, but at the same time, I try not to go on Instagram as much. I try to go on mostly just to post now, because it's, I don't know, I feel like these phones are kind of ruining everybody's lives to some extent.
Yeah, it could get, when you get that screen report on Sunday.
Oh God!
I'm like, how was I on my phone that much?
Yeah, I try to go on like around 5 o'clock in the morning, and I scroll through and I see the 5 or 6 people that I follow, and try and be supportive at that time.
Sure.
You know what I mean? But other than that, I just don't have the time to really interact with it.
No, and it's a lot of time, and I mean it's interesting to see what's happening with this whole generation. My daughter's 14 now. She doesn't watch Instagram at all, so she didn't have a phone until about a year ago.
Wow.
But now she's like, it's a full send on the phone, because they're all on the phone, they're all talking on the phone. So like, I gotta even be careful, like, what I say in the house sometimes, because she could be on the phone with 3 people.
You're going to end up on TikTok.
Yeah. Like, I don't know what's going on. I'm like, who are you talking to? And so I know her friends, just because I've driven them around.
Yeah.
So Olivia will be like, say hi to, and I'm like, oh, Olivia, turn that phone off. But that's what it is. It's TikTok.
Oh, yeah.
So that's the thing now. TikTok,
I'm hoping that they ban TikTok.
Well,
because it just seems like, Instagram is basically TikTok now. So I don't know how much of a difference it'll make. But
What is TikTok?
So
I only know it by name.
it's like, Reels, Instagram Reels. It's basically just that. But it's,
but they invented it.
It's a Chinese company, and they're, some, nefarious characters behind it, apparently.
They data mining and stuff like that.
and
I think there could be some controversy here,
psyops.
though, because I think there's an argument that one of the big pushes to get rid of TikTok is really coming from the tech industry in Silicon Valley, because they don't want
They want to make a vacuum so they can fill it with something else.
They don't want the competition.
Yeah.
And that makes sense to me, too. Because, let's face it, TikTok is eating Instagram and Facebook's lunch. And I'm not on TikTok, but I should be on TikTok. From what I hear, everybody says you should go on TikTok, whatever. It's one more thing. But I think anybody under the age of 15 is probably on TikTok and not on Instagram or Facebook. So if you're Instagram or Facebook, I would probably be lobbying to get TikTok banned.
Yeah. What's the purpose of TikTok?
The same thing. It's just social media. It's just voyeurism. It's just looking at stuff. It's just endless. So I was listening to Steve Ramsey. He has a good podcast with Chad from I forget Chad's channel, but he has a cleaning channel. Anyway, they were the analogy with TikTok is if you go on TikTok and you spend half an hour there, you've watched a half an hour of TikTok. If you go on to YouTube, well, you might watch like 15 minutes of like a history channel. You might do a deep dive on some car. There's all these different things that you might do where you're actually learning something and seeing something, where with TikTok, it's just all a blur.
Yeah.
Which is very similar to Instagram. Instagram is also can just be a blur.
Yeah, Instagram, you sit there and it's a guy pulling the glue brush out of the glue, and then some girl in a bikini dancing, and then a guy on a light pole gets electrocuted, and then it's just a bunch of bullshit.
But if you go on YouTube, so I was watching some kind of a documentary about Jamestown.
Mm-hmm.
Basically how this country was settled.
Mm-hmm.
So that was something. And then I watched that and I thought, well, I should really watch more of this. But then I went on TikTok. No, but you can see how that's actually a learning thing. And I think we live in this time where you can learn so much, but it's also, there's so many distractions of things that are really not worth any time at all.
Yeah. And I think it's like anything, it's so like I scroll through reels, but I'm a YouTube guy. Like when I go home and like we put my son to bed, like I put on YouTube. I don't put on TV, and I watch all kinds of weird stuff. I watch a guy who eats crazy fruit. I watch. I was watching last night these like police interrogation videos. So it's like they have like all of these like clinical psychologists and stuff, and they show the police interrogation, and they give like their takes on like the people who commit these heinous crimes, like what about how the interrogation is happening, and it's pretty cool.
There's so much fascinating things.
I like YouTube too. I like watch like Rick Beato.
Oh yeah, he's great.
And then in that sidebar it'll have like the suggestions.
Mm-hmm.
And Stuart Copeland's always been one of my favorite drummers, and so it popped up, and so now here's this. It's not an interview. It's Stuart Copeland himself. What would you call it?
Just making a video?
Yeah, talking about his history and everything like that. And
like a vlog.
Right. And it's current day. He's an older guy, and he's reminiscing a little bit, and he's talking about it. Now, he explained how his dad was a diplomat, and he grew up in the Middle East, and this sense of timing and rhythm is just a common element of music from that region of the world, and it just made so much sense all of a sudden. It's like,
well, now that you're saying that, I mean, I can hear it.
Yeah,
you can hear that influence.
It was great. That's the thing I like about YouTube. It's it does open up this whole world of like people like that are, sort of like experts, if you call it that, creating this first person narrative form of video.
You're more likely to stumble upon something on YouTube, I feel like, whereas like Instagram, it only feeds you what it already knows that you like.
Right. I noticed that.
Yeah. Like, whereas YouTube, like, I know it does the same thing, but like sometimes the suggestions come out of left field.
Yeah.
And it's not like Instagram will just keep pushing the same accounts. Whereas I think YouTube, they want you to watch more accounts.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that on that page that comes up. It's interesting to see what YouTube is doing with YouTube Shorts now, because I do find myself going down rabbit holes with Shorts, which I never, up until about a month ago or so, I didn't do that. But so now YouTube is paying money. So this video, this one that's blown up now, is made like almost $300. So, it's interesting. It's just interesting. It's like gambling. It's like, I'll do this. It's gambling without any real negative side effects.
Yeah, as long as you don't invest too much time in making the video, then.
But that's the funny thing, like the YouTube Shorts. So if you look at YouTube on your phone, if you looked at Shorts last, that's what's going to come up on your phone, at least in my phone. And then you have to hit the home button to get back to like YouTube, because that's usually like my routine at lunch is to like take 10 minutes and eat lunch and watch something on YouTube. And I went into a binge on the New Yankee Workshop lately, because they opened up. I guess they imported all the old shows to the channel, and it's cool to see Norm do all that.
That was how I learned how to do everything.
Right.
Like when I needed a router, my very first router, it's like, okay, I see Norm's got that router. If he can use it, then it's got to be good enough for me.
Well, the funny thing is, I was working. That was like 85, maybe.
Yeah.
So I was working at a cabinet shop that made custom furniture. So the business changed. I did an interview with my old boss maybe 5 years ago, and he explained how the business changed. So he was making a lot of custom furniture, tables, end tables, banquet, all kinds of stuff, furniture, not cabinets. And within maybe the 4 years that I was working there, like into the 90s, because I kind of dabbled, I went in there and then I worked construction, went back. It went to mostly built-ins and then into kitchens. And that's what he was doing the majority of. And it's funny because the built-ins would be gigantic, like 35 inches deep for these huge TVs.
Oh, yeah.
So you'd have a huge cabinet in the center that might be 35 inches deep and 60 inches wide. And then you'd have like these little offshoots that were pushed back a little bit, and that would give you the ability to have nice crown molding details and stuff. But my point with the New Yankee Workshop is I was always impressed with Norm.
Yeah.
But my boss, I felt, was as good, easily as good, and artistically better. Just that's how I felt. I mean, what he was making compared to what we were making in the shop was probably geared down to more of the homeowner.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was like the everyman's woodworker,
But not to, and I would never take anything away from Norm. I'm just saying, like, it's like anybody. So even if you go back in YouTube 10 years ago, you think, oh, this guy's a good woodworker. Or I used to think, oh, I'm a good woodworker. And next thing you know, I'm like, holy cow, there's a lot of guys out there that are way better than me.
Yes.
And because, like I was saying to you guys, or you, Rob, I think before, I sort of feel my way through a project where I know just from following Jeff for years before, before we really met, I see Jeff as a mechanic, a creative mechanic, but I have so much respect for mechanics because for me, I can do it. I would never say I can do it like Jeff does, but I can do it. But it takes tremendous amount of discipline for me to do that. I really have to say to myself, do this today.
You're an artist.
That's what I love to do. If I could do anything, I would just paint and make art type things. Like I don't mind building stuff when it's kind of related to art because it's not as much. But like with this table, all those. If you're going to make a decision that has to be cut into this piece of wood and shaped, it's not that you just go ahead and make this cut now. You have to do whatever it takes, make the jigs, set up the saw, change the blade, all those
Think about
steps.
How it's going to affect every other step that you had already planned to do.
So it's all discipline. It's like digging a hole. It's like, okay, you have to do this for it to work out. So when like people will say, what's your favorite part of the job? For me, it's like delivering it.
Collecting the final payment.
Delivering it and saying, you know what, it worked. it worked. All these decisions worked, and I'm proud of that piece of furniture. And there's little triumphs throughout the day that you have, but I'm not like, oh, I can't wait to make this cut with the flush cut bit on the router. That's not me at all. I just do it because it has to get done.
I'm more like that. I like the beginning of the job most. You know,
it's fresh. You know, you hit it with a full head of steam, and then you get into it's a reverse bell curve of enthusiasm. You know, in the beginning, you got all this enthusiasm, and then in the middle, you're like, I fucking hate this job. I'm gonna move on to the next one. And then at the end,
I gotta sand one more of the dowel.
Yeah.
You know, I'm gonna explode.
And then, you know, in the middle, you run into all the problems that you didn't foresee, all the design issues that you didn't foresee, all the mistakes you made at the beginning start to catch up to you.
And that's the funny thing. There's always mistakes. Always, like something.
Yeah, those doors on that big cabinet. I got a set hanging in the rack over there because I made these beautiful doors. But when I measured the for the rails, I didn't subtract the 1/2 inch for the tenons, and so I'm laying these doors in like a proud papa. I'm like, what the hell? It's an inch. They're an inch too big.
Oh, so you can say, you know what? I like the way that this rail looks a 1/2 inch smaller on this side.
No, so it was like, put them up. But it was like,
shit
happens.
And it's the funny thing, like, I've done things where I'm going to cut something. I'll bring that chop saw down, and I'll just stop for a second. And sometimes I get lucky and I catch myself. And then sometimes I'm like, what the hell did I cut that for?
Yeah.
It's completely wrong.
Yeah.
There's always mistakes, though. That's just how it is.
Yeah, it can be gut wrenching. I mean, so much work went into making those doors.
I bet.
Because they're big. It's not
they're big. That's a big cabinet.
You know, they're like 7 feet tall. They're more than 7. I think they're 89 inches. No, the piece is 89 inches.
No, it's 90. It's 95, I think.
Okay, I want to say that
it's 5-inch rail at the bottom and 2 or 3 at the top.
Yeah. Well, anyway, those doors are like 7 feet tall.
When are you delivering that?
If we can fit it, we'll take it with us on Monday.
And does somebody give you a hand? Is there a crew there?
There was last time we were there, so hopefully they'll be back.
That thing is heavy.
I was going to say.
It's real heavy.
I was going to say that. And it's not only is it going upstairs?
Oh, no.
No, it's going right inside the front door.
Oh, nice.
I don't think the wallpaper will be done. So it'll probably have to, we'll have to talk to the PM and see if we should even bring it, because the next trip we're going back is just that big walnut countertop.
Okay.
And that maple countertop. So
that thing's going to be in the way if we bring it on Monday, I'm sure.
Yeah, unless they have a room that's done and painted and they can stick it in there.
Now, years ago, you used to have all your furniture picked up.
Yeah.
You don't do that anymore? You're delivering things?
Yeah.
Well, Tommy Mover stopped, I think he stopped working in New Jersey altogether, right?
Yeah, I had a guy from early on because, I worked by myself, so it just was impractical to try and move everything. And he was called Man with a Van. And I met him when he was literally just one guy with a van. And then he grew to this size where he had like 2 or 3 helpers. And then finally he didn't do any moving at all. He just sent his helpers, and they had these big trucks. And then
doing a lot of interstate, like Jersey to Florida.
He got into racing cars, and he wasn't around. And
wow. So that was a good business.
Yeah. He was a real hustler, too.
I know a guy, I know an art mover. I don't know if would move furniture, but I'll give you his number. Really nice guy. Really nice guy, used to move art. He might not want to move furniture because moving art you're not dealing with the weight.
Yeah.
And his truck was sort of set up. He worked with a lot of galleries in New York.
We build them heavy, too.
Yeah. Like when Tommy did it, he wrapped everything completely in blankets. And little by little, the price was going up and the service was going down.
Yeah. The confessionals were the last thing that they moved.
Yeah. And they just took them and put them in the truck.
Jeez. That's a little nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
So then
Plus we
got
have the van. It's like we got to go there anyway. So really, it's just put it in. So
No, I was just curious because it is a big piece of furniture.
yeah.
So I mean, have you tried lifting it to two of you to move it?
Yeah, well, it was like on its back when it got painted, then we stood it up. Those two wall units in the office are gone too. So those are.
Are they getting more finish on them?
No, they're finished. The ends are they go wall to wall.
Okay.
Those
there
are
two pieces right in the center.
Yeah, those.
Yeah.
Okay.
So those are two wall units, and then they get floating shelves above. There's a big fireplace in the center.
That's a great
We
client.
made that fireplace around. We made on
It's
the
going to be
Hussey.
an amazing house.
It's brand new in Bridgehampton.
I have a friend out in Bridgehampton. What size house is that?
What is it, like 3,500, 5,000 square feet, maybe in that range. It looks very modest when you pull up, and it's I mean, I wouldn't say it's modest, but it's very tasteful. It's not gaudy or overly done. But you pull up and it looks very small from the front, but it really opens up when you get inside.
Wow.
12-foot ceilings.
Nice.
Great room, has a cathedral ceiling with faux trusses. It's nice.
Nice
So-
big central stair that's open.
Yeah,
This
like a
must-
switchback.
This must be a client has a place in New York City and a place out in the Hamptons.
They actually, I shouldn't give too much information,
No,
but they
don't,
live
yeah.
down South Jersey
Oh, wow.
in a beach town,
Oh, nice.
and like raised their kids there and everything. And now their kids are old, grown. They're out to the Hamptons.
Good for them.
Yeah.
That's nice. I mean, I like South Jersey too, but the Hamptons are beautiful. I don't get out there. I've only been there, a handful of times, but it's like a different world.
That was the first time I had ever been out there. It's nice.
It's really nice. And the water out there is crystal clear.
Really.
Yeah, it's amazing.
I did a couple of summers there. When I went out with this girl's dad, used to have this big house, like the kind where you have your own beach and everything like that.
Wow.
It was pretty spectacular.
Well, that was where that's where all the artists in the 50s, that's where Pollock was. I think Pollock died out there. He ended up, you know the story of Pollock, how he died in
No, I remember that movie with
Ed Harris.
Ed Harris.
So here, the quick story with Jackson Pollock is all these artists in the 50s, these abstract expressionists, they basically got paid through the Works Progress Association. That's how they kind of got started. And then a couple have got picked by Peggy Guggenheim and Pollock and de Kooning, anyway, a handful of them. So Pollock and his wife Lee Krasner moved out there. Now Pollock was an alcoholic, a raging alcoholic, and he eventually pissed off his wife enough where I think he had a girlfriend right in front of her and all kinds of shit. But anyway, he ended up buying a big Cadillac when he sold a couple of paintings, and his girlfriend came out, and the girlfriend came with a friend who didn't really want to be there, and they went to some party, and then Pollock, being like a mad drunk, wanted to go somewhere else. The girlfriend said, "Let's go." The girlfriend's friend didn't want to go, but of course they all went, and a couple miles down the road, he went off the road, and he was killed, and the friend was killed, but not the girlfriend.
Jeez.
And there's a rock out there, where he hit the rock or whatever. But you can go see his old studio. And so, I look at a lot of artists and I think, oh, these guys are real assholes. Like Pollock was just a total asshole. So was Pablo Picasso. I mean, if you read any history on Picasso, what a jerk he was.
Yeah, what was it? I was watching something on Van Gogh, and he got real wacky and did a lot of weird stuff.
Well, Van Gogh died very early, so I don't have an anger towards Van Gogh like I do with.
He got shot, right?
He shot himself. He shot himself in the stomach.
That's what he said. But the thing I was watching, it was this whole story about how he had this run-in with somebody, and I shouldn't say too much because I don't remember exactly, but yeah, he was out in this field, and somebody accused him of something, but he didn't want it to become a thing, so he just said that he shot himself.
I have a foggy memory of hearing a similar story, but all my life I thought that he shot himself in the stomach until like very recently I heard something like that. I'm not sure where I heard that.
It was like a YouTube thing that I was watching.
Yeah. He was, I think he died in his 30s or his mid 30s. He sold one painting, I think, to his brother for like $80. His brother Theo was a dealer, and he died shortly after him of some people say it was a broken heart, I guess, but I think he also had syphilis. A lot of people had syphilis back then.
That's the same thing.
But he was a madman.
syphilis.
He cut his ear off because he was hearing voices, and But the funny thing is, you look at a Van Gogh painting, and it's pretty amazing, right? And like art today, and I don't want to come down on art, but so much of it is just mass produced. And like one of the highest paid living artists of our time right now is Jeff Koons, who doesn't touch a brush or anything. Everything is made by assistants.
Yeah. It just seems like a total sham,
So they're saying, there is a big argument or discussion at least that art is created by the market, and it's basically like, let's say like we were all millionaires or whatever, we could go and find some artist, and I could go and buy one of his paintings for like $50,000, and then Rob can go, and then like maybe a couple months later I'd put it up for auction, and Rob would go and buy it for $200,000. Now my collection is more.
It's like the stock market, the pump and dump,
Yeah.
If we have all this money and we start buying Dogecoin, well, Dogecoin, the price goes up because we're all buying it. People see, oh man, John, Jeff, and Rob are buying Dogecoin. We better get on this train. And then they start to buy it, and the price goes up, and then we just cut and run.
Yeah. But I don't think that'll happen with some of these big artists because there's so much money tied into it. So that's like, there was Damien Hirst. He's famous for polka dot paintings, and they're just polka dots that he doesn't paint. They sell for like millions and millions of dollars.
How does that happen?
I don't get it. It's like I could come up with the concept of a painting, but I wouldn't call myself an artist unless I could actually create the painting myself.
It's a weird thing. Like, so I love design. So like the house that you're talking about, I can imagine one of these polka dot paintings looking really cool in that house. But at the same time, somebody else could make it, but the person who, I think these types of paintings are just collected like trophies. Yeah. It's like, hey, I've got this, I've got this trophy, so this is, I've arrived kind of thing.
It's like the Chippendale thing. Chippendale designed a lot of furniture, and he had a lot of people making furniture, but they still call it a Chippendale. They don't call it it was John Smith who actually made it.
Right, and all those books, he made those patterns for people to, or not patterns, but he created those drawings for people to reproduce his work.
But see, for furniture, it kind of makes sense because it's almost analogous to an architect, right? So you're going to have the same respect. Like I have a lot of respect for Frank Lloyd Wright, even though a lot of his houses were structurally, but he was pushing the limit, and he had a great eye. So he was invested in it. Where I think that a lot of the art that is being, some of this questionable art that I'm talking about is being conceived of on the internet, not on the internet, but on the computer, through collage, through borrowing from photographs, through all kinds of stuff, right? And then you're getting craftsmen then to put it all together, like really high-end craftsmen. So, I'm never going to buy one of those paintings. I just have an opinion where, like, if you are looking at a Van Gogh, Van Gogh painted that. If you're looking at a Jeff Koons, he probably never touched it or even knew that was made because there's factories, there's just factories making his stuff.
Well, I mean, didn't the classic artists have?
Sure, but I still think that they were. So the classic artists, when you're going back into like what the
Renaissance and.
So I think that they did work with assistants, but I don't think their hand was as far removed as it is today because of technology.
Yeah.
So some artists could argue the point that, well, I can do the work, so why do I have to do the work? And there's some truth to that. But at the same time, do you need to just produce and produce and produce just for the sake of creating more stuff to sell?
Yeah, it waters down, the whole optic of the whole thing,
Yeah, I don't know how it's going to shake out. I mean, when I was a young artist, the whole thing was you go to you go and you make a body of work and you get photographs of your work on slides and you try to get it into a gallery. I would never advise a young artist to try to do that today. It sounds like a total waste of time. So like that's what they would say in school. They would say, okay, come up with a cohesive body of work, photograph it, and then go around and try to get into a gallery. That's like insane. Like first of all, it was like impossible to do back then. And today, who even cares?
If you don't know somebody, you're not getting in anyway.
No,
it doesn't matter how good your paintings are.
Reminds me of the music business.
So similar, all that.
We used to
come up with some demos and just
mail out cassette tapes.
But today, because of YouTube, you can actually do something and catch fire.
Oh yeah,
which is fascinating. So I think it's all going to change because you don't have the gatekeepers. Creative people don't have the gatekeepers that were around 10 years ago, 15 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
Now, if you're creative, you just have to have the energy and focus to do the work.
Yeah,
which is pretty cool, I think.
Yeah, sometimes I wonder what I would have been able to do had I had access to this sort of technology, because not only do we have, as you say, the gatekeepers aren't there, but things cost so much money to create back then. I mean, it might as well have been $1 million to try and create, art or music that was presentable to, to build up your repertoire, so to speak.
Well, yeah, it's exactly. It's like if you can get traction, then all you need is your little groundswell. You might not need anything else than that.
Yeah.
Especially if you know how to merchandise it and things like that. So it makes me doubt the old system. Like, is this art that is? When I say millions, I mean millions, like hundreds of millions of dollars for paintings that can. I don't know if the value is still there anymore. So it's interesting to me because a lot of these paintings, the artist isn't really even touching. So I don't know how it'll shake out.
Yeah.
But, so you would think, okay, the music industry is going to get really exciting, right? But it is if you're tuned into it. Like my kids know a lot of good music, and I learn about music from them. But what do we hear most about?
Bad music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like mostly what you hear about is like Taylor Swift or something, which I don't even know if I could know one of her songs, but I know she's super popular.
Yeah, she's killing homeless people.
There's still control.
It's this. I got this comment, and we've talked about it a couple times on the podcast.
That's right.
Yeah, where apparently she's in the Illuminati and she kills homeless people.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
and she likes to watch other people kill homeless people.
Wow.
Well, no, that's how she was initiated. First, you got to watch somebody kill a homeless person, then you got to kill a homeless person.
Yeah, I'm not gonna comment on any of this. She's rich and powerful.
Yeah, she's in the Illuminati, of course.
And then Matthew Serio,
he's good. He was good.
He sent in a question because we've been doing these question episodes every once a month. It was if Taylor Swift had to kill a homeless person with a piece of shaker furniture, what would it be?
Am I supposed to answer that?
Well, yeah,
I'm going to
free.
say, I'm going to...
It doesn't have to be an entire piece of furniture, just a piece of a shaker, something shaker.
I'm going to say a rolling pin. I'm sure if shakers have made rolling pins.
Good one, yeah.
That's pretty good.
We said like a turned leg,
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Candle table.
Yeah, candlestick, a whole candlestick table.
That's just a little.
It went dark. That episode went pretty dark.
I had a question about your coffee because I'm interested in that. So, what are you as into coffee as Jeff? So, let me hear your routine, then I'll hear Rob's routine, or vice versa.
So I don't do it the best way, just out of sheer convenience, but. So I have a Technivorm Mocha Master, which is like it's a drip coffee maker, but it's like probably the best drip coffee maker that you could buy. They're made somewhere in like the Netherlands, a single factory where they make all the parts and do everything there. So I grind the beans at night, beforehand, put them in the thing, and then I have it on it doesn't have a timer because that's how like neurotic they are, where they're like, you shouldn't make the coffee the night before.
How much coffee for how much water?
So I use a cup of beans, maybe like just slightly less than a cup. And it's a 10-cup coffee maker, so it must be like 40 ounces.
So just a cup of beans before they're ground?
Before they're ground, yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah, a cup. Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
where are you
based
getting
on
your
like
coffee?
60 grams or something per cup, something like that. My wife buys the coffee at Aldi, and it's like single origin, fair trade, organic coffee.
What town is that in?
There's one in Hazlitt. There's one in West Long Branch. It's like a discount. It's like imagine Trader Joe's.
Yep.
It's like the same company, but it's like more basic.
Okay. Oh yeah, I know. Okay, it's like that blue place.
Yeah. It's
I've never been there.
like,
It's got very interesting kind of architecture.
I think Pathmark used to be there.
Okay.
What the hell else is in that? The wine. There's like a wine store in there.
Yeah, wine soup.
It used to be across the street, and then they moved it to the other side of the highway. It's on 35 South, I guess.
There's two actually. I think there's one further north that's down by the Lowe's.
That's Lidl. That's Lidl.
Oh, okay.
So it's very similar. It's same deal basically. It's just a different company. So yeah, it's pretty good coffee, and it's really cheap because I drink so much coffee. Like it would be really expensive for me.
How do you drink it?
Black.
Okay. I know. Matt Viz is the same way. Black.
Yeah.
If you're gonna drink it, you
like
want to
I
taste
like
it.
I like coffee with milk and sugar, but I don't eat sugar, so and then milk. It's just another thing I got to keep around. But I like it black. But yeah, if I was to drink like Jersey Shore coffee roasters, like $18 a pound, $15 a pound, I've spent a lot of money on coffee.
Yeah.
So this stuff is like $4 for a 12-ounce bag, which is pretty
nice.
cheap.
Yeah.
That is inexpensive.
What about you, Rob?
Well, when I lived out in San Francisco, I started drinking Pete's coffee, and you couldn't get it here. So for the past 24 years, I've had 4 pounds of Pete's delivered once a month. Whole
Nice.
beans.
Now they sell in the supermarket.
Yeah.
Nice.
So a little bit of a creature of habit, I'll say. And
Also, the nostalgia probably.
yeah.
Doesn't
yeah.
it remind you of like probably being in San Francisco?
Oh, well, I just like it. And then it is expensive because, you have to pay the air freight, and it is like $18 a pound. So my wife sometimes, every now and again, she would
$100
like,
a month on coffee.
yeah, I'm like, listen, I don't do anything. I don't drink. I don't smoke. I don't go out. I don't spend any money.
This is my
You
one
give me
thing.
$20 and ask me if I need money 3 weeks later, it's still in my pocket. I just want the coffee.
I think you have to treat yourself to certain things.
It's still Mocha Java?
Yeah, it's
Because I know you
Arabian
were
mocha
switching it up
Java.
a little bit.
Yeah, the wife was like, all right, you've been drinking Arabian mocha Java for like 20 years. You think we could have a different blend? And I said, all right. Well, so I picked out a couple others, and then she said, the mocha Java is better.
Yeah, my wife doesn't use my coffee maker. Because one time she had like some kind of flavor coffee. I had to put the kibosh on the whole thing. I'm like,
yeah.
you're not putting that in my coffee maker.
That's the worst, like a hazelnut or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't like any of that.
No.
So I grind it in the morning and then brew it. But I like no sugar with cream. I love milk. I love cream, and coffee's almost an excuse for me to have cream.
Yeah, that's not. I am a milk and sugar. I do a little bit of sugar, but I'm not even going to tell you what I drink for coffee because it's embarrassing.
Maxwell House.
You got it.
No way. Is that a joke?
No.
What kind of coffee maker,
God.
though?
Oh, I got to everything's
Like
bad.
a Mr. Coffee?
It's all bad. Like
Start with a
Walter's
good coffee maker.
Yeah.
Walter's like, you guys got to up your coffee game.
Yeah.
You know, Walter reminds me of Jeff because he's very into like tools, what the brands are, and same thing with coffee. And you know, he's just I'm sure that he'll probably live at the house for a year or two just to save money up. But I bet he can't wait to like have his own house and just be like, okay, I'm doing things my own way. You know?
Yeah, we got to have him on. He was saying he's got to stop by.
Yeah, he's going to. He's great. He's really enjoying it over there in timber. It's such a great job because there's so much variety. There's, you know, he's doing a lot of different things all the time, and I think that's got to be really nice.
Yeah. It helps, you know, because there's always going to be mundane things that you have to do and things that you don't want to do. But if the projects are always changing, then it you know makes it easier because you don't have to do it all the time.
Yeah, and it's nice because he's definitely has a mechanic's mind, and to get the opportunity to do the work with the CNC, and then also do the carpentry work or the the cabinet making work, and then do some photography work.
Yeah.
It's sort of like, you know, that's an exciting thing because I remember when I worked in a cabinet shop, it was great when you were changing jobs, but when you got on a gigantic job that was just going to be drawer after drawer after drawer, it was like, whoa, I know what I'm doing Monday through Friday.
It's like the boxes. You know, we're getting ready to make 500 more boxes.
That's exciting.
We tell you how fast they sold?
I couldn't believe I watched your story.
Yeah.
You know what's so funny?
2 minutes, 485 sold in the first 2 minutes.
That's awesome. That's awesome. The funny thing is that video has done really well. I think it's like 350,000 views, which is a lot for me. And I think a lot of people enjoyed the video, and I also did like a kind of a clickbaity title, like $100,000 or something. And so one or two people were like, you know, just some snide comment for, $100 for a box, just whatever they said.
Yeah.
So the last comment what happened right around when I saw on your story that they sold out. Somebody said something and it came up on my phone. I said, "Oh, you're too late. They just sold out." You know what I mean? So sometimes I'll respond to them, but sometimes, usually I don't. But I was just like, this guy. You know, it's funny because the first comment that comes out of my mouth is "F you," and then I don't ever say that.
Yeah, people are like, who would spend $100 on a box? It's like, well, 1,500 people have so far.
Yeah. And no kid hungry, you know.
It's great.
It's
when we do the run in the fall, it'll be $50,000 that's been donated.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You know what? I think probably as mundane as it may be of a job, it might be a really nice mental break to just sit back and be like, okay, this is what we're doing. I'm going to listen to a podcast or whatever and just go through the motions.
Yeah, and it's an opportunity to try and, you know, refine a process.
Sure.
That's how I look at it, too. Yeah. It's like, how do I get better after doing 1,000? How do I get better now doing 500?
Yeah. They turned out great.
Yeah, I mean, we know all the little things that we want to fix and make better and everything like that.
There was a couple, you know, people who had complaints about very unrealistic expectations as to what a wood box can even be like. You know what I mean? Like, tolerances can only be so tight if you want this thing to open and close.
Yeah.
The funny thing,
$100 is not a lot of money.
No.
I mean, it's like, that's the funny thing. Like,
there's two camps. There's $100 is a lot of money, and they're like out of their mind about it. And then there's the people like us who are like, that's nothing, because we know what it takes to make. Even with the laser, it takes so much time.
Yeah. That's why I would never like try to make a wooden spoon or a cutting board, because I'm like, I don't think anybody's going to pay $500 for this wooden spoon.
Yeah,
that's what we say about the cutting board stuff. It's like all these people making them and selling them for decent amounts, but it takes so much time to make these things.
It's a lot.
What is?
It's a great use for cutoffs. I mean, that's a nice thing about it. And I'll make a cutting board. Like we get to the holidays, I'll make a few for friends or whatever. But
my problem is I like a really big cutting board. So like usually the cutoffs are too small.
Yeah.
Like I want like a 24 minimum.
24 by what?
18, 20.
Juice groove?
Nah.
You don't need one.
I don't cut meat on wooden cutting boards.
You wouldn't cut meat on it.
I mean, no, I would avoid it.
What are you going to cut meat on?
A plastic cutting board.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that brings me to my next question. You don't have to give me two, but two would be great, but it could just be one. Go-to recipes. Something that's good. Because I know you guys are both food guys.
Yeah.
Something that's good. Something that's like, 3 to 5 ingredients. Could be a pasta. You don't have to count the pasta for the ingredient. I'm going to be listening to this later.
Yeah, I find myself doing like appetizers a lot because,
Then do that.
like, you cook at home and it's kind of just like.
You got to get it done.
Right, yeah. But like when you like go someplace like.
Give me one of the things that you got to get done. The family's got to eat.
Yeah.
But that you like. And that Hunter likes and your wife likes.
I don't know. You go first. What do you got?
You know what I like? Because I don't cook very often anymore. My wife does all the cooking. She's not really a great cook or anything, but
Does she listen to the podcast?
No, but she knows that. She knows how to make like 6 things that I kind of helped her refine. She didn't really know how to like use utensils and pans and heat and everything like that. So, but I'm the kind of guy where I never complain. I'm happy because I tell her, listen, comes to the table hot, you clean up, you're never going to hear a peep from me. I'm completely thankful that I have a wife that does that.
Sure.
But every now and again, I like to, cook. Something I really like a lot that I don't make is polenta. You ever have polenta?
Yeah.
I like a creamy polenta. And I like to top it with like a nice kind of strong cheese, so you make the creamy polenta. It's in a pan. You throw it in the broiler with like a strong cheese, like Gorgonzola or something like that, crumbled on the top just to melt it and brown it. And you know what else is good is like some sauteed like mushrooms, like, a mixture, oyster, shiitake, whatever you have, something like that, cut and sauteed, sprinkled on the top. I like something like that.
Nice.
And it's easy.
What nationality would you consider that?
That's Italian. Polenta's Italian.
Yeah, okay.
Sounds good.
It's getting to be that time.
Yeah, I'm drawing a blank.
Really?
Yeah.
I can't believe you're drawing a blank.
I'm super off the cuff.
Jeff's always cooking something,
I know.
too.
That's what I mean.
It's like whatever's around.
You guys are all restaurant guys.
I made a pork shoulder on Saturday. Yeah. Sunday?
Well, tell me about that then.
So that was just honestly, it was just the pork shoulder. I seasoned it, garlic powder, onion powder, salt, pepper, paprika, mustard powder. Put it in, covered it with foil in a pan. In a pan. I put it in the oven at 250. That was like 7 a.m. We left. We went to Brooklyn, picked up the dust collector. About 1:30, got home, and I was surprised it was done. Like literally, like you press it with a fork and it's just like shreds.
Wow. Yeah.
So then I put some like a little bit of barbecue sauce in there, apple cider vinegar, and some more seasoning. Just to taste, and shred it all up. That was good.
And you eat it like a sandwich?
Yeah, whatever you could.
Yeah,
put it in like a tortilla,
nice.
Or on a
tortilla sounds good.
Yeah, like a pulled pork sandwich.
Yep. If you're doing pulled pork, you're going to do coleslaw?
I like coleslaw with it. Yeah,
me too. I got 2 simple recipes. I don't have to look at my phone for them. So the first one I learned from my friend Max in Aruba. My wife and I, before we had kids, like maybe 6 months before maybe a year before Jack was born, we went on a windsurfing trip to Aruba, and I met my friend Max Nudie. I didn't know him at the time, but he turned out that he lived right up the road from us in New York City. And so after windsurfing, we'd hang out and drink pina coladas on the beach. It was awesome. It's just like one of those one of my only vacations I can remember.
Aw.
Anyway, well, last night we were staying in these little fishing huts. He came to our place, and it was just him, and it was my wife and I. And he went through our pantry or whatever we had, and he pulled out some bacon, like a half an onion, some garlic, some olive oil, and made a sauce. So it's just a half a pound of bacon, diced, and then you skim off maybe 2 tablespoons of the bacon fat, so you're not having all the fat, but you want some of the fat, of course. Throw in some olive oil, some maybe 5 or 6 cloves of garlic sliced, the diced onion, and then a can of diced tomatoes and a can of crushed tomatoes, and have that with linguine. So that's really good. It's something that it's like a go-to for me if my wife's a really good cook. So if she's not around or if she's taking a break or whatever, I'll just make that. It's easy. Because, again, it's like 4 ingredients.
It reminds
It's almost like
me,
a matriciana, no?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Except you use pancetta.
Yeah.
So what is pancetta? Is that like a...
It's an Italian bacon.
Yeah.
So it's the bacon is kind of a substitute for... what is that kind of ham that you put on sandwiches? I forget. It's a popular...
Prosciutto?
Yeah. It's like kind of a substitute for prosciutto.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, pancetta is like it's rolled, right?
Yeah, it's got quite a nice ring of fat in there.
I think it's cured, but it's not smoked.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not smoked.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah.
So that's kind of probably a substitute.
Yeah.
And Max is Italian. He could speak Italian. I'm still friends with him today. So it's kind of funny. I met him in Aruba, and it's one of the guys who I'll talk to once every year or two, but you kind of catch right up.
Yeah.
And then the other one, really simple, is puntanesca. You probably would know.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. You know what that's that.
Yeah, the horse dinner, right?
Yeah.
My dad told me that.
that.
The horse dinner, because she just takes whatever she's got in the cupboard and throws it together. So they call for anchovies.
Mm-hmm.
But I usually don't have anchovies because I just don't have them in the cupboard. But you can get away with just the garlic, the capers, the olive oil, and some good olives.
Yeah.
What's the name of those olives?
Kalamata.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kalamata, is that what you said?
Yeah.
That, and then have that over penne. And then in that case, I use diced tomatoes, not crushed tomatoes. So I like it to be a little bit more. So those are 2 like real simple ones, and of course you've got all the lemon chickens. Those are easy.
Jambota is a good one. That's easy. Yeah. You take whatever. You could do sausage jambota, chicken jambota, thighs, legs,
So let's
whatever.
hear it. I don't know what that is.
Potatoes, peppers, onions, olive oil, garlic.
So
and your meat, you
so
mix
I can
it all.
listen to this and make it.
Mix it all together. Put it in the oven. Cook it till it's done. That's it.
Chicken in the oven.
Yeah,
that's it.
You know the recipe, chicken in the oven, right?
No.
That's for some reason that's what Italian American families call chicken with like lemon and garlic and like potatoes and then chicken in the oven.
That's what my wife makes. That's great. I love that. It's funny though. That's a lot of chicken fat.
Yeah.
I end up eating some of it, but probably not supposed to.
Oh, there's nothing like a nice chicken skin, crispy chicken skin.
I know.
Yeah,
I'm the one who
like
does
some
the
chicken
carving.
thighs.
Chicken in the oven.
Like when you get a chicken thigh with that crispy skin, you could just peel that whole skin off like a potato chip.
Now, will you eat that?
Oh yeah.
But you seem like you're really tuned into what you're eating. Like I know that you're not eating sugar.
Wow.
You don't eat
I eat a lot of fat,
carbohydrates,
though.
right?
No.
Oh, so are you into that fat? What is that? The
Keto.
Is that what you're doing?
Yeah. Oh yeah. For over 5 years now.
Really? How does that work exactly?
So it's all based on ratios. It's supposed to be like 70% fat, 20% protein, 10% carbohydrates. But your carbohydrates have to come from green leafy vegetables. Can't be like flat, wheat or anything like that. So I don't eat any
loaf of bread.
No wheat, no beans, no rice, no nothing like that. No sugar.
Do you eat lunch here?
I'll have like some peanuts and stuff sometimes, but when I'm doing it the way that I really should, it's no breakfast, no lunch, just dinner.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm the opposite of keto. I eat this morning I had a croissant with my coffee. Then for lunch I had typically lunch is a can of soup.
So are you still on the soup diet?
I'm on the soup diet. In fact, I got to go to the dentist in about 10 minutes. So, yeah, on the soup diet, then I'll go home. I'll have another can of soup probably. But this time I'll mix in like macaroni, like orzo.
But that's just because of the dentist. Eventually you're going to get off the soup
I'll
diet?
get my chop. Today he's going to check my gum, see if I'm ready to get a couple of choppers back.
No pastina, though.
Yeah, no pastina. I want to know what happened to the pastina.
They got rid of it. You know pastina?
No.
They're little
You don't know
tiny little
pastina?
stars.
Oh, yeah, I know what those
Maybe
are.
like
yeah.
an eighth of an inch. Yeah, they got rid of them.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
But they got rid of them like you can't buy them?
Yeah.
Wow. I wouldn't have bought them anyway. I don't know. I've only had them in like soups in a can or something.
Oh, they call it Italian penicillin.
Yeah.
Really?
Just with butter.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
See, that's a good one, actually.
Back
But
in
now
the
you
old
can't get it.
days,
Yeah.
when your mother would make dinner and, you had to eat it or else, once in a while, if I whined loud enough, I would get what we call macaroni with butter or a little pastina. They would boil it up, throw a couple of pats of butter in there, and
Salt and
it's
pepper.
so good. It's
Yeah,
so
because
good.
it's so dense because, there's less space between them.
Sure.
That you just get a spoonful of like
Goodness.
solid pasta. Yeah.
Who would make that? Was that like Barilla or somebody? Or
Ronzoni, right? Yeah.
and they just don't make it any longer.
Yeah, for some reason they stopped making it.
Wow.
Yeah. And I'll have like ice cream for dessert. Like I'll almost always have ice cream dessert.
I eat a lot too. I had probably a good, maybe a 6-inch long piece of bread, like from a Italian baguette,
Mm-hmm.
and some juice for breakfast. I like to have like just like a half a coffee cup of juice, just get some of that sugar. And then at lunch, it's like leftovers. But I eat a lot, like 2 chicken cutlets and another like big piece of bread. And
I eat a lot of volume. I just don't eat the
But it's so
carbohydrates.
when you sit down tonight, you'll eat a lot. But you haven't eaten anything yet today.
I had some peanuts at lunch.
I would be fading away.
Yeah.
I actually have way more energy like this.
See, maybe I would then.
Like
Maybe
if I woke up and ate a piece of bread, I'd be done. I'd be done for the whole day.
But it's funny. Like I'll say that to myself if I'm doing a major like yard project on a weekend. I'll make a big Taylor ham sandwich and just be like, I'm fueling up. And then
I can't eat too much at one time. Otherwise, I'll get real lethargic.
I kind of muscle through it, like, and I'll say that it's like a game I play with myself. I'm like, okay, I'm going to be really tired now for about 20 minutes, but then I'm going to just like work through it.
Yeah, I never overcome it. I have to pace myself.
Yeah. Now, like if I eat something I'm not supposed to eat, I'm like down for the count.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were saying that at the woodworking show. I was like, wow, I mean, it takes a lot of discipline. That's impressive.
So now, since the new year, I've been on the straight and narrow, and then so we're going on this fishing trip in April, and then like I'll let myself go for those couple days. But it'll be
but
that
you don't drink either.
Well, yeah, I'll drink then, but like, and it's not that I don't drink; it's just that I just don't really drink.
Yeah.
Like I don't go home and have a beer because the carbs and everything will mess with me anyway. But the alcohol too. Like I had it was like a White Claw vodka something seltzer kind of thing that they make. And like the next day, like I just felt terrible. I only had one.
I like to drink.
I like it too. I just don't like the.
Not a lot. I just like to have I like to have a beer. Or I like to have a glass of wine.
Yeah. I love beer. Like I love drinking beer.
Well, that's how the show in the beginning of the show is the beer of the week.
Yeah. Yeah,
that
that totally messed with the keto thing.
Yeah.
It was like, well, just one beer on Fridays. And then, the fallout is like multi-day.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to have to sign off here, boys, because I got to go to the dentist.
Yeah, so let's we'll close the show out. So thanks for coming on.
Oh, it's been a blast, man.
Yeah.
It's great catching up with you guys.
Yeah, we'd love to have you on again.
Yeah.
Definitely. I was hoping to get some really good recipes that I could. So next time I want to hear like.
I'm gonna have to think of some.
You like lasagna?
I do, but my wife makes a great lasagna.
Does she make it with fried eggplant?
No, that
All
sounds awesome. So get that one. I want to hear that.
That does sound good.
I love fried eggplant.
Oh, if you love fried eggplant, then
Eggplant pizza. You ever have eggplant pizza?
No.
Oh, it's really good.
I like just fried eggplant on a plate.
Yeah,
with some salt on it.
Yeah.
That's
Like
good.
an
You got to
eggplant
take
cutlet.
the skin off, of course. You know, you ever eat like those at that bogus place and they like don't take
That's the worst.
Yeah.
You can't even
it's
bite through it.
No. Anyway, yeah. Fried eggplant, couple of layers in the lasagna.
Oh, that sounds really
An
good.
eggplant rollatini.
Yeah.
Fry it, roll it up with some whatever inside, maybe goat cheese or something.
I'm kind of was hoping for something really simple. Like I'll never make the eggplant roll.
Lasagna?
Yeah, it's too much
All right.
for me. Like
For me, it's just like roasted chicken thighs and like asparagus or something like that.
yeah, okay.
Simple as
I'm
that.
always just thinking like, what can I make that I'll get? Well, because I had 4 kids, so if Laura wasn't around, and I had like she was somewhere last week, and I was cooking for Walter and Olivia, and I was like pulling my recipes out. But she usually sets me up. She was I think she went to Las Vegas last week. She had to go for business.
So you know what I love? But macaroni with white beans and escarole.
I've never had it.
It's good. It's a good one.
It can't get any simpler.
That sounds good.
You ever make beans from dried beans?
No.
Okay, we'll have to talk then.
Well, folks, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week. Next week, we have another guest. We got Brian from RT Machinery.
All right, take care, everybody.
See you guys.
As always, Rob and I thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next week. If you want to help support the podcast, you can leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. You can join our Patreon, or you can use one of our affiliate links in the podcast description for vesting finishes. Again, we appreciate your support. Thanks for tuning in.